Here.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to
Wait, my
Calling
shoes
All
untied.
Geeks. What?
My shoes untied. Now hang on, wait.
Why do you care? You're at home.
Oh yeah, good point. Go ahead and start
You're
us.
not
I'm
gonna...
sorry. Yeah, I won't be. I won't happen again.
I can't do my podcast when my
Yeah,
shoes are untied.
yeah.
Okay, Rain Man.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
I'm not
Welcome
gonna
to
interrupt.
Calling All. What are you doing,
I'm
man?
sorry. I thought you were waiting for me. I was gonna tell you I wasn't gonna interrupt you. I'm sorry. Okay, I won't say anything. I'm sorry.
Welcome to Calling All Geeks, and thanks for answering the call. I'm Flynn, and with me always, Chris from DZ Comics.
Hello. I'm sorry. Hey, it's your boy. Hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing, friend?
Oh my goodness.
No, it's
Look,
fine.
you know
It's
what?
okay. Let's just keep going. Man, it's
All
great.
right. Today is the day.
It's
All
the day.
right.
We were talking about this all last week, up until this point.
Well, I'm telling you, today is the day. It's not a day like yesterday. It won't be a day like tomorrow, but today is the day that we talked about Game of
And
Thrones.
it's definitely not the same day as the last recording. It's totally a different day.
It's a different day.
Completely different.
But look, we haven't had any Game of Thrones in 2018. We won't get any until April of next year.
Yep, it
And
feels like
so
hell. We haven't.
if we don't get our Game of Thrones, we have to talk about our Game of Thrones, right?
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree.
So, for those that are new, be warned there will be spoilers. So,
Yeah.
for those of you that are new, for those of you that may have forgot, let me bring you up to speed. Game of Thrones has millions and millions of fans. There's 132 Emmy nominations.
Holy crap.
The show has won 38 Emmy Awards.
Jeez.
There are 7 seasons,
Wow.
3 dragons,
Nice.
1 Iron Throne, and an
Yeah.
unlimited army of White Walkers.
Damn.
So where do we start?
Let's start with the 38 Emmys.
38 Emmys.
No,
That's
actually, that's
amazing,
not.
isn't it?
That is amazing. It's more Emmys than I have. Way more. 38 times more Emmys than I've ever been nominated for.
I was going to say, if they had 1 Emmy, that's more than what you have.
Yeah, it's impressive. I didn't realize they had been nominated that many times. Like, that's impressive.
132
Good
times
night. That's
over
a lot.
7 seasons.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And a
That's
lot of
good.
those actors, multiple nominations and
Oh.
multiple wins.
Yeah, they're all fantastic actors. Except,
Right.
except maybe, and not to say anything about her as an actress, I don't know her name. Sansa, she definitely feels like a cardboard box through half of the series. She just is bland. But I think that's my only complaint, though.
She does all right for the role, I think. I don't know.
She's better now. The character is better now.
Well, she's probably learned a little bit in the acting business.
Yeah.
She was rather young when the show started.
Talk about young. You say that, but one of the best characters was way younger than her, I think.
Arya?
Arya, yeah. Isn't she way
Yeah.
younger? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I believe she's 9 when the series starts.
Yeah, jeez.
Or her character's 9. I don't know about the actor.
Yeah. But anyway, what did we want to talk about Game of Thrones wise?
We just want whatever you want to talk about. You know, recently I've been rewatching everything. I wanted to rewatch the entire run before the final season came out.
Yeah. Usually I do that like when it's closer to the season actually coming out. So like probably around like March, I'll be watching a lot of Game of Thrones.
Well, I've kind of started now because it's 7 seasons, and I'm kind of like really trying to pick apart the words, you know.
Oh, okay,
Like-
yeah. See if there's any like gems that like foreshadow things.
Right, you know, because I've gone back and I've watched it, and there's a couple scenes where you're like, oh, that's CGI. But for the most part, it still holds up well. You've got all these big sets they've built, and
Oh,
everything's
yeah. I think-
physical. And
It's definitely a masterpiece. Like, it's one of those like. To me, like, I'm surprised it hasn't had a more impact when it comes to like the film industry than it should. Like Star Wars had a huge impact. And that's really for its innovations, but like when it comes to the storytelling, Man, I haven't really been this captured by any movie or any TV show in recent history more so than Game of Thrones. Maybe that's just what's his face is like J.J. Abrams, not J.J. Abrams. Um,
George R. Martin.
yeah, J.J. Abrams. He's the writer of Game of Thrones. Yeah, George R. Martin's writing. God, just edit that out. Like, do me a favor. Like, I don't want them to know.
I got you.
But maybe it's his writing. But, jeez, it's like I said. Like, I don't watch a lot of movies or TV shows, but I do make time for Game of Thrones, and that should say something about how good the show is.
Yeah, it really is. Because I'll be honest with you, when I remember when I watched the first episode,
Yeah.
it was the White Walkers that drew me into it because I thought, oh, this is going to deal with mystic and magic and fantasy,
Yeah.
and it really doesn't. I mean, it's kind of slow driven.
It's what is the term? Because you have high fantasy and low fantasy, I guess is what it is, where there is mystics and magic in the universe, but it's so taboo that it's like almost non-existent.
Right. And so had they not had that scene, I don't know if I would have stayed with that show, but I stayed with it expecting to see more of that. Then I got hooked on the plots and the plot twists and the treachery and the backstabbing.
I think
and the character grew and the cast got bigger and it was so much to track.
Yeah, I think the thing that got me hooked was when Jamie pushed Bran out the window. I was like, that bitch. Gotta watch the next episode. Yeah,
Well, yeah, and that first episode was loaded with so much. Like I was watching it again not long ago, and all that happened in the first episode. I was thinking some of that stuff happened 3 or 4 episodes in. It was just loaded with just so much.
The first episode is probably the most important episode because of how much it has to set up all that stuff. Because literally, it is the reason why. Well, actually, I guess when it comes to the lore, the Hand of the King, I forget the name. Him dying was the reason why everything was set in motion. What was his name?
The Madman, the Mad King.
No. The Hand of the King. Of
Oh,
King
the
Robert.
Hand of the King. Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah, that was definitely.
I don't remember his
not
name.
good for Ned Stark.
Well, yeah, because that was that's the whole reason that everything kicked off the way it did was because he died. I can't remember his name though.
So, who's your favorite character?
Tyrion Lannister is my boy.
And why is that?
It's really hard to explain, but when it comes to like characters that because I feel like in Game of Thrones, there's always characters you're rooting for, and then there's characters that you wish ill will on, and there's lots of characters that they kind of flip on that spectrum. But Tyrion, ever since the first episode, I thought he always had a charm to himself. It kind of seemed like he was more of a people person, that he actually cared about certain things. Like when Bran was crippled, he actually cared. But it seemed like everybody else was just too high and mighty. It was just inconvenient, and they didn't care. But he cared. And it was in a weird, like, you got the impression that, like, the Lannisters, they're this super powerful family, and they shouldn't care, but he does. And it just spoke volumes about him as a person. And he's been very consistent in that he's been very sympathetic. He's always been the underdog, but he's had the best interest in everybody who's under his care, even if they don't give a shit about him. And there's something to respect. I don't know. It's just I guess a personality trait that he displays that I really like. And so even now I still root for him. It's like I'm not really rooting for Danny. I'm rooting for him. I want him to win. I have other characters that are not that have flopped on that spectrum. Like I want Jamie. I think he's the next most interesting character to me right now. And at first I hated his character.
Well, for me, I'm a Tyrion fan as well.
See, yeah, he's just super likable.
But I wasn't at first. First, I was a fan of Ned Stark.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I was a fan of his too.
I was a big fan because he was such an honest person, and I thought, man, he can't last long. You know,
Yeah, I
not in
think
this world.
I think looking at when I started watching, I was like, well, I shouldn't get too attached to this character because Sean Bean's playing him, and so
Right,
I just
right.
didn't get attached. I liked his character though. Yeah, you're right. He was really good. Ned Stark was an awesome character.
But I did like Tyrion. Tyrion grew on me, and the thing
Okay.
about Tyrion is that I always felt when I was watching the show that if he ever united with Dany, there was no way she could lose because he wasn't. You know, he's a dwarf. He's not a big man. He's not strong. He doesn't fight. He doesn't wield a sword. But his brain is probably as powerful as all of that. You know, he's constantly reading books. He's constantly watching people. He knows about all the houses, the cultures of the houses. He knows about the whole Lannister culture. He's been in King's Landing. You know, he's explored the whole underbelly underneath it. I mean, he has all the information she needs to take the Lannisters. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, not even just that. Like, um, just his political savvy.
Right. That's what I mean. I mean, he understands how the culture works and what's right and what's wrong. And you know, when he slaps Joffrey
Yeah, like three
for
times.
not carrying out the proper etiquette that he's supposed to be handling at that moment.
Yeah,
That scene still cracks me up.
and it's one of those things like, Tyrion, you had this respect for him so immediately, quickly, but Joffrey was the exact opposite. You like, oh my god, this kid can go eat a dick, like immediately. And up until he died, it's like, every scene he was in was like, I just want him to die more and more.
Yeah, you know, and that's I'm talking about that scene where he's slapping him. I think that's like episode 2, right?
It's like episode 1 or 2, yeah. It's like
Yeah,
episode 2 because he was talking to
that
Joffrey about his condolences about Bran's fall.
right. And I remember the first time I watched it, it wasn't that hilarious. But after you watch the show and you see how much of a spoiled prick this kid is,
It's super
rewatching
satisfying
that
to watch it,
scene,
yeah.
yeah, it's hilarious. It's just
Yeah.
you can't help but laugh. You know, like yeah, that's right. Slap him again. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree with you wholeheartedly there. Um,
But but season 8's coming, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't really looked into much on that because I don't think anybody really knows anything other than speculation. Have you heard
well,
anything?
no, and even if there was information out there, I don't know how much of it I would have picked up on because usually I try my best to boycott that stuff.
Yeah, well, they're pretty secretive because the one bit of information I did read was they were talking about how they're filming multiple endings so
Huh.
that nobody knows the ending.
Ah, that's smart. That's very
Yeah,
smart. I like that. Not even the actors themselves know. That's
yeah.
really smart.
The Walking Dead did a similar thing with their season 6 finale, where
Hell
they
yeah. I hope they
filmed.
actually publish all those endings though. Like they actually process it like on a special edition DVD. They have all the endings. That'd be really cool.
It's possible.
It makes sense financially. Like if you're gonna go through that much effort, you should do it.
It would be nice to see, and it's possible they could.
Yeah, but when it comes to
But
like speculation, if that's what this episode's gonna be, speculation time. Like I can certainly oblige.
wait, how do you think it's all going to end?
Well, maybe not how it's gonna end, but maybe the stuff I would like to see.
Well,
Like
let's
the
see
thing
what you
is,
got.
and here's the thing. So the first thing is like the ending's probably not gonna be obvious. Like the obvious ending is that John and Danny get together and they completely win everything. Like the hero stories always do, right? The two people that everyone's rooting for, like the main heroes, are Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen.
Well, let
So
me stop you there for
the
a minute.
okay, yeah, go ahead.
The you talk about. I know what you're saying. It looks like Jon Snow, Daenerys, but
That's what I'm saying. The obvious
why?
heroes.
Why do you think they killed Jon Snow off just to resurrect it?
Just to sacrifice themselves to end the like the thing is like I was saying, well, what my point was getting at is like the show, especially the early seasons, was everything kind of came out of left field. People died out of nowhere. You shouldn't get too attached to any of your favorite characters because they're just gonna get offed. And there was always this suspense, like you didn't know who was gonna die next. But towards these last few seasons, it's gotten more predictable. The main characters are still going to be there. No one seems to be in jeopardy. And apparently, the only rumor I've heard that's probably true is a shit ton of people are going to die in this next season, which makes sense to me. But like I said, the obvious, when looking at it right now, the obvious, because every story usually has a good ending, a happy ending. That's how almost every single story ends. And so the happy ending here is that Jon and Daenerys win completely. They beat the White Walkers, they take the throne, they're the new king and queen, and they're good king and queens. That is a satisfying ending, even if it's super predictable.
But that's not what I
There's
foresee happening.
Yeah, I know. What I'm saying is because it's super predictable, I cannot see that happening. That's
why I asked you, why do you think they killed Jon Snow to resurrect him? Because at this point, it serves no purpose in the story. So it means that something is coming that gives some relevance to that. Because there's really not anything that happens in that show that there's not a reason behind it.
Well, sure. I think the reason why they resurrected him, or the whatever that god's name, the Lord of Light resurrected him or whatever, was because he wanted the White Walkers to be stopped. So ultimately, I bet he's gonna die fighting the Lich King or whatever his name is.
I agree he's going to die doing that, but there was no need to create the story of him to die just to bring him back. They could have kept him alive and still accomplished the same thing.
Oh, you're talking about in the story? You mean in the show itself? Like, why did the people betray him? Because it made sense. But the thing is, the reason why a show like this is so good is because the people, when they do certain actions, it's what they would have done. You think about what was that guy's name? I don't remember his name. The guy he wasn't the Lord Commander. He was like second in command. He was a dickhead. What was his name?
I don't know.
We'll call him Fuckface.
Captain Fuck. What we call him?
Captain Fuckface. Like, the thing is, with him as a character, like, from the beginning, he didn't like Jon Snow. And there was nothing Jon Snow ever did that ever earned him respect. Like, he never earned that respect in that character's eyes. So whenever he became Lord Commander, you know, he was following him, he didn't like it, but he did it because that was his duty. And his thing is, nope, wildlings are the greatest evil, period. There's nothing greater than them. And so when Jon Snow's like, hey, I'm bringing a wildling in, he's like, well, this one guy I've never respected ever has now just betrayed everything I stand for. It was logical for that character to kill him. Now, I think that's the reason why I think the show is good, because every character acts as they should act, realistically, and not to further the plot. Now, obviously, when what's his face is writing the book, there is a reason why the character, like, he was brought back from the Lord of Light. There's this greater purpose. But you're asking me, why did they kill him off if they were going to bring him back? Well, because it made sense. Because that character would have killed him. Those people would have revolted against him.
Well, we're going to have to disagree on that one, because I think there's more to that story that's going to play out. But I do agree that he's going to die. He's going to die stopping the Night King.
Sure, yeah. And then Dany's probably going to, I don't know how she's going to die. She's probably going to die from her dragons or some shit.
Well, I don't know about Dany, because if they were following the book, I would tell you that whether she's going to live or not is up in the air. But at this point,
well, how far are they in the book? I thought we way past the book.
We are way past the book, but I mean, in the book, you find out that there's another Targaryen, a cousin of hers.
That isn't Jon Snow.
That isn't Jon Snow. It's another kid that Varys hid away. Dany didn't even know about it, or her brother. And you know how Varys was always wanting to put someone on the throne that cared about the people.
Yeah. So
this kid was his plan before he knew about Dany. And this kid, he raised him in his little birds and spiders group on the street. And this Targaryen I think, is some type of royalty. But he raised him on the street so he would understand the people and what they're going through, so that he could take him into power. And he would, he had walked in their shoes. He would be more concerned on what their needs were.
Sure.
And I think his plan was to marry him and Dany because I believe the Targaryens don't have the incest issue. They like the pure bloodline, if I remember right. But that was his plan. And so, yeah, in the book, I could say she could die or not die because there's someone to take the throne. But they didn't drop that storyline for the show. So I'm like, well, she died to
They
take
didn't
the
even
throne.
introduce Lady Stoneheart either. So it's like, again, it's
Right.
like,
So I'm not sure. Danny's fate's undoing to me. But the one thing that I've always wondered is when you watch these characters, because you talk about how them being predictable, right?
well, not predictable, but realistic is the word I should have used.
Well, regardless, they are predictable, and as you watch the show, you can kind of see each character's end game.
Yeah.
Agreed. Like you know where their end game is going to end. You know Jon Snow's going to die. You can assume Danny's going to take the throne. You can assume Sansa might be the Stark that's needed in Winterfell, or it could be what is his name, Tobin, that forgotten Stark that ran away in season 2 or season 3.
I thought they found him and killed him.
Did they? I can't remember. It's been a
Yeah,
while. It's a good thing I'm rewatching the show.
I think what's his face killed him, Bolton.
But the point is, you see all the end games with these characters.
Sure, you can see what they're trying to do. Yeah.
The one end game I never could figure out was Arya. Arya, at this point, whether you take her out of the show or leave her in, it doesn't change anything,
No.
right?
No. Well, no. Maybe in the regards of the overall grand theme of the story, but I think that's my point. The reason why this story is so good is because each character, whether they're big and they care about the White Walkers or not, they have their own arc. And so when you're saying that it made no sense in cinematically for them to kill Jon Snow because they just brought him back, well, you're thinking about it in a cinematic perspective. So what's his face had a point. His point was like, again, he acted predictably in his own arc, not in the grand scheme of the whole story. The story, he doesn't care about the story. He cares about his story as a character, and that's why.
Correct.
Yeah, and so Arya Stark, you say, what's her end game? Well, I don't think. I mean, I'm sure she will care about the White Walkers, but she has one goal, and she just wants to. She wants to be the one that kills Cersei. That's it. That's all she cares about. She doesn't care about anyone else. I doubt she even cares about her family at this point. She just wants to kill Cersei.
But what I'm saying is every character has a point. And if you remove them from the story, it affects the story. The characters that don't have a point, like Tobin, they removed him from the story. Right? But Arya's been in the story every season. We've been following her. What's her end game?
Kill Cersei.
But you can take her out. Somebody else will kill Cersei. I kind of predict it will be Jaime that takes her out.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jaime's going to be the one that kills her.
Again, it doesn't affect the story.
Sure, yeah, I know. But it affects their story.
The last few weeks, I've been really thinking about this, and I think it comes down to she will be the only Stark left living.
Who, Arya?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think that's her end game.
It's like Sansa's too incompetent. Sansa's too incompetent at everything. She's not physically capable. She's not mentally fast enough to be able to outmaneuver people who are smarter than her. Only Arya is both. Arya is physically capable and smart enough to take care of herself. And that's the thing, is Jon is physically capable, but he's not politically savvy. So that's the thing, is he'll die getting in a battle of showing off his physique against the White Walkers. Arya will get backstabbed somewhere, or like she'll get outplayed by like Cersei or something, and then it will just be Arya. Yes, I agree. That makes sense to me, and I would be satisfied as a person watching that. But if they killed all three of them, it'd be like, fuck.
It gives some point to her story arc, you know.
Yeah.
Everything that we followed, because she's gone from being
a nobody to like probably one of the most deadly people in the show
as an assassin, right?
Yeah, she's probably one of the most skilled, and it's funny, she becomes that skilled in a matter it seems like a few episodes, but must have been like months or almost years. We don't know how long she was in Bravos or whatever.
Yeah, the timeline is really hard to follow in the show,
Mm-hmm.
especially now because the
Like,
writers seem to move things
she was
along real
able to just like
faster.
completely destroy Bran Tarth like several times, and it's like Bran Tarth is no slouch, like at all.
Because I was thinking, I was when I was rewatching those, I think it was episode one. They had talked about. You remember when Robert Baratheon had come from King's Landing to Winterfell
Mm-hmm.
because he was asking Stark to come be as the king, the hand of the king.
Yeah.
They had made a comment that they had been on the road for over 30 days,
Yeah.
and so then you think about, well, how long was Arya on the road?
Oh, years.
And then she met the Hound, and then they were on their way to a point.
They probably were together for about a
Where
year. Yeah.
Caitlyn's sister was, yeah, I mean, several months at least.
Uh huh.
So the timeline's a little sketchy. It's hard to really say. But and here's another thing I was wondering: how do they eat? How do they have enough harvest to get through these winters?
Well, the thing is, like, again, so that I when it comes to stuff like that, I don't think it's really something that you need to think about too much because it can ruin things. But I mean, you should just accept that they have a way to do it. They've clearly their civilization's been around for a while, and their planet clearly doesn't follow the same rules as we do. There's magic,
Absolutely not.
and their winters
That's
are
the
for
point I'm
decades.
making.
So it's like there's clearly a way, and who cares?
No, I mean that's the point I was making because there's a scene where Ned says to, was it Caitlin? That's her name, Caitlin Stark, his wife.
Yeah, Catelyn Stark. Yeah.
Catelyn Stark. He says he doesn't know how Arya is going to handle the winter because she was born a child of the summer. She's 9 when the story starts. She's about 11 or 12 when winter comes. So summer's been lasting at least 10 years. How long is winter?
Probably 20 years, something like
I don't
that.
know. But how did they come up with all the food? Because they ain't growing nothing in the winter time. So
Well, but if their summers
I
are
know it's
that
not
long,
important, but I was thinking about it when I was watching the show. I keep thinking about it.
well, if their summers are that long, there are foods that they can grow and create that have preservatives in them. Even back then, like I say, back then, that would last long time. So I'd imagine they just stockpile the shit out of that stuff. But at the same time, there's been wars all over the place. So who knows? But
Yeah, there has.
who
Yeah,
knows?
because I don't know. Anyways, I was just curious.
Yeah,
So
I have no thoughts on that.
I'll be happy to know.
I think okay. So I know we're getting a little bit pressed for time, but I'm gonna go off, and I'm gonna name a character, and I'm gonna try and predict how I think they're either gonna die or how that's gonna end for them in a quick statement. I'm gonna try and hit all the major characters, but I'm sure there'll be some I miss. So like Cersei, I think she's gonna die by either Arya or Jaime, and I know it seems obvious, but I think Jaime's the more likely, and it just
Yes,
seems super poetic and it
I
would just
agree.
feel good. It would feel really good. Like if they fuck us in every other corner when it comes to the story, at least that has to happen. And yeah, I think she'll die from Jamie.
And it seems
Jamie,
they're going that way with the story too.
yeah,
It
especially at
seems to
the
not
end.
be
At
in
the
line with her anymore.
Yeah, it was up until like the very end. He was trying to be on the same page as her, and then he just realized like, wow, she is a monster. And I think he realized that he used to also be a monster. That's why I like the first seasons. I did not like him as a character, but after he got his hand cut off, he started becoming my favorite character. Like one of my favorite characters. He's probably my top 3. He's so good. So yeah, I think that he'll die from either like grief, like he's he had to kill his sister, and so there'll be something corny, or like he'll commit suicide or some shit like that. You know what I mean? I don't think he has an honorable death. I think he has a shit death. I don't know who. Oh, maybe Arya kills him because I'm pretty sure he's on her list, and he doesn't know that he's become noble.
Huh.
So I bet she kills him as some poetic justice, and we feel bad because that'd be something out of left field, right? Because we don't really think about them not interacting in all these years, and how different both those characters are now. So yeah, I think Jaime kills Cersei. Arya kills Jaime. I think Arya lives. Jon dies in battle.
Mm-hmm.
Dany, I don't know. It's like the obvious thing is she lives and becomes queen, but it's like at the same time, like meh. I would bet it would be something crazy stupid like she dies and fucking Tyrion becomes king or some shit like that. It'd be something crazy. But then again, it's like Tyrion. I don't know if he's gonna live. Like, it's crazy. Like, okay, so like Tyrion, what do you think is gonna happen to Tyrion?
I have no idea. I figured that Dany would take the throne and he would continue to guide her.
I think.
'Cause I don't see, you're talking about he could possibly take the throne. I don't know that anyone would accept a dwarf.
Maybe not. But it's like I said. It's if he feels like the only way his character is going to end if it's something out of left field or disappointing.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm trying to like think that they're going to pull a lot of things. They're going to kill a lot of our favorite characters. So it's like, okay, maybe he's one of the few that lives with Dany and he rules alongside her. Cool. Seems kind of obvious when it comes to like traditional storytelling. Or it's going to be something crazy like maybe he tries to kill Cersei first and fails and she kills him. That would be pretty poetic, right? Like the whole family just murders each other. Cersei kills Tyrion, Jaime kills Cersei, and then Arya gets revenge on the Lannisters by killing Jaime, and ending their house just like the Lannisters almost ended their house.
It's so hard to tell at this point.
Yeah, and so then it's like,
so...
yeah.
Yeah.
Dany, it's like, man, I have no idea how she's gonna end. She's probably gonna take I think that she has to become queen. Trying to think. All the fighting characters are probably gonna die in battle. So like Grey Worm probably gonna die in battle. The Hound, hopefully the Hound in the mountain fight, and we have Clegane Bowl. Like, that'd be great.
How could you not? How
well,
can there not
yeah,
be a battle?
there has to be. And the Hound beats the mountain. Hell yeah. And then he lives. He can live. That boy has had a hell of a redemption arc, man. And he can serve as like the King's Guard or some shit like that.
Yeah, but the mountain has been resurrected now, so we don't know. Can he die?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess, but you assume that you can just cut his head off because he's not reanimated the same way the White Walkers are reanimated. At least we don't think so. It seems more alchemic.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not like the Red Witches either.
Yeah,
it's brought back the snow and all them.
It seems more alchemic than like a hybrid of alchemy and magic than just magic.
Right.
So, or the thing that I was thinking is like the dude who resurrected him. I don't know his name. I bet he dies from the mountain, and I bet the mountain kills him because the White Walkers take control of him or some shit like that. Because he's dead. That's what I think's gonna happen. Like something with the mountain, something with the mountain and the White Walkers is gonna happen. Like he's gonna get taken control of by them, and then he's gonna do something crazy. Maybe he kills Cersei. I could see that too.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say maybe he kills Cersei. Yeah.
Then that'd be crazy too, and that would be super satisfying death for her as well. Like she can die pretty much any which way, and it'd be satisfying.
But that means the White Walkers have covered a lot of ground to get way down south.
I think we're gonna see that. I think they're gonna lose the first battle towards Winterfell. I think Winterfell's fucked. And I think that's going to make it all the way down to King's Landing. And Cersei's going to be like, oh, fuck, whatever. I'm the queen. And some stupid shit like that.
You know,
and then she's going to die.
That's a good point, because I wondered that, too. I wondered, like, is Dany going to go for the throne first? Or is she going to get drug into the White Walker?
She is. Wait, did you not see the last season?
But if she goes to the throne, and then the White Walkers come down, then all of a sudden she has to stop the battle.
You've seen the last season, right? Now that you're saying this, what was the last thing you saw?
What are you going to say?
Well, based on what you're saying, the last episode you saw was Jon Snow coming back alive.
No.
Okay. Because she's already come down there. She's already said that she's getting dragged into the White Walkers.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, maybe I misheard.
Is she going to go for the White Walkers, or is she going to start the war for King's Landing?
I think she's just going to fight the White Walkers, because she's honorable. And she went down and said, I'm going to do this and she's always stuck by every word she's ever made. It
Well,
would go against her character if she just backstabs Cersei preemptively. I mean, the only thing I can think the reason why she'd do that is Jaime says, "Hey, I'm here. Cersei's not coming," and then she's like, "Well, gotta fuck that bitch." Like, I can see that, I guess, but without that, I think she's committed completely.
I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
This next season is
Gonna be crazy.
6 episodes.
Yeah, but they're like full motion pictures, like 2-hour episodes or something like that. Huge budgets.
They are huge budgets. I don't know. Are they 2 hours?
I heard I heard that they were 2 hours. I haven't read anything. I've only heard what people said. I've heard several different people say that there was like it was much longer than previous episodes. They're not 1-hour episodes, but they also have the budget of like a full motion picture. So we're not. It's like the impression I'm getting is like we're getting like 6 movies, is kind of what we're getting. 6 small movies.
Well, originally the plan that they had was they were going to do the seasons on HBO, and then the last season they wanted to make into 3 movies for the theater.
That'd be
And
cool.
HBO said no, they wanted to be loyal to the subscribers and have everything on HBO.
Yeah.
So that's why they gave them the budget, a big budget to make the last season. So I figured if you had these 1-hour episodes or an hour and a half episode, then 2 episodes would be equivalent to 1 movie, which worked out to 3 movies.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares? As long as it's satisfying. I don't care how long they are, as long as they're good. But other than those characters, I mean, Sansa, I think she gets backstabbed somewhere. I think maybe Cersei kills her somehow, some way, assassinates her. I don't know how that works. But I just don't see her living.
And what about Bran?
I think he
Goes
just
on to be
becomes.
the tree god?
I think he just becomes a 3-eyed raven. Yeah. Maybe he dies from a White Walker because the 3-eyed raven's kind of like the enemy of the White Walker. So maybe the White King kills him. But it's either the White King kills him or he just becomes a 3-eyed raven and just does his own shit. Who else is there that's a major character? Like I said, most of the fighting characters are probably just going to die. So you think of Ser Jorah Mormont's probably just going to die somewhere, sacrificing himself for Dany. What's his face? The mercenary that Tyrion's friends with. I forget his name. He's probably going to die, or he's going to run away because he's a mercenary.
I imagine there'll be about 3 or 4 people standing out of all the characters that we're familiar with.
Then I would hope that if I had to pick 3 that I think are reasonable, I think Arya is going to be left standing. I think the Hound is going to be left standing. And I think...
You've gone through all the characters.
I got through most of the characters. I think the ones that matter. Like, what's his face? I forget his name all of a sudden. Like, the bald dude who's been there since the beginning, like, pulling the strings. Like, whether he lives or dies, when it comes to the main plot of the story, I don't think has a huge impact. So it's like some of those characters I don't really care too much about.
So how would you feel if it was an unexpected ending?
Like Cersei won.
I've heard people say things like, "Oh, a meteor drops and kills everybody," but what if the ending was
the White Walkers win?
The White Walkers win and just kill everybody.
Well,
would that piss you off? Or would you say?
I think it would for a little bit.
I didn't see that coming.
Well, I think I would say that because when it comes to like a business proposition, because the thing is like this is a product. They're selling us this product. And the thing is, you don't want to get people excited about the product just to rip it from underneath them, which is what the White Walkers winning is. But at the same time, if it's believable, if it's a believable outcome, like if they do all this stuff and it makes sense, then it's fine. As long as it's believable. As long as it's not like the heroes get cheated. I mean, it could be stacked against them completely, and they have a fair shot. But if it's like they do all this crazy shit, they get all the fire, they get all this glass, they have the right weapons, but then that White Walker can't die by any of those things, then it's like, well, that sucks. that would feel cheated and that would piss me off. But if it was like an epic fight to the end, but they just barely lost, or whatever, or if it was just like like I say realistic, obviously it can't be realistic, but a reasonable outcome, but they still lost, I would accept it. I'd probably be pissed at first, like, oh, what the hell, but give me a day and I'd be like, that's fine. It made sense at least.
But see, that's why Danny has to get involved, because there's no way they can defeat them without her.
Oh, that's why I'm saying I think she is involved.
Because
I don't think
as they kill the opposing people, that creates a bigger army for themselves.
Yeah,
they just resurrect everyone they kill.
I think when you look at it, like, the initial battle is kind of in the favor of the living over the dead.
Only with Danny's dragons.
Well, sure, but with Danny's
Without
two dragons,
people are doomed.
I didn't disagree with you. I mean, I was just gonna say that it seems as it is right now that it's quite even. Even with them having one dragon, I think it'll be a bloody fight and all this crazy stuff. But I think what's gonna happen is that Cersei is going to march on them, and the living people who are stopping the White Walkers are going to be battling on two fronts. And then Cersei's going to be like, haha, I've won. I've defeated all my enemies. Wait, why are they still standing up? That's what's going to happen. And then she's going to realize how fucked she is. She's going to realize how fucked she is. And that's what I'm saying. Then they're going to have this crazy battle, and they're all going to be on the same side, kind of. So that's why Arya is going to be in the same building with Jaime. And, all these people are going to be working together at the very end because Cersei fucked them. And they're either going to have a close victory or a close defeat. And, if they have a close defeat, they're all dead. If they have a close victory, well, then Arya kills the people she wants to kill. That's how... There you go. That's my prediction, boys.
That's your prediction.
Yep. That Cersei... when it comes to major plot lines, Cersei will march on the living, and she'll fuck everything. You heard it here first.
I can't say I disagree that she won't screw things up, but... that's where we're going to have to end it.
Yeah. Long episode, but man, pretty good.
All right. Any last words?
Nope. I'm super excited about Game of Thrones. I'm sure everyone else is too. It's going to be great.
And, of course, when we get closer to it coming out, we'll be here talking about it more.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm very excited.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. If you like this show, hit the like button. If you're new, subscribe. And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.